HBO's critically acclaimed period drama, The Gilded Age, has captivated audiences with its intricate portrayal of late 19th century American society. In Season 2, Episode 7, titled Power Plays, viewers are treated to a complex and engaging narrative that culminates in a dramatic and thought-provoking ending. This episode is a masterclass in character development and historical context. It skillfully weaves together the fates of its key characters, with power dynamics at play in both the social and personal spheres. The tension reaches a tipping point, setting the stage for future episodes. Presenting our latest theories and insightful analysis of the recent episode of The Gilded Age. Dive into the captivating world of its main characters, plot points, and thought-provoking themes as we unravel the intricacies to enhance your understanding and enjoyment. Wow, what an exciting lead-up to the season finale next week! Episode 7 of The Gilded Age Season 2 was jam-packed with captivating developments for all the characters, leaving the stakes incredibly high as we head towards the conclusion. From Oscar's devastating loss of the Van Rin's money in a non-existent investment, to Reverend Fort meeting his unfortunate demise and the escalating conflict between the Met and the Academy, there was so much to unpack in this episode. So, without further ado, let's delve into the intricacies of the episode and explore all the noteworthy moments. Get ready for an in-depth analysis of The Gilded Age Season 2 Episode 7 ending. Please note that this video contains spoilers. Oscar has lost his fortune, and this is the lowest point we've seen him at. While we all suspected he fell victim to a well-known scam, he remained oblivious. What made it even more painful was that Miss Beaton, someone he cared for and planned to propose to, was the mastermind behind the scheme. After consulting George Russell about his investment in Casterbridge Pacific, Oscar grew concerned when George admitted he had never heard of it before. This raised suspicions as it was a direct competitor for George's project. Oscar decided to visit the company's office, only to find it completely empty, as if it never existed. He then headed to Miss Beaton's supposed property, but she was nowhere to be found. As it turns out, it was never her residence to begin with. She had simply misled Oscar. We never saw her leave the front door, and if you recall, she was waiting outside when Oscar arrived. He even told her she didn't have to wait on the curbside, to which she claimed she was just getting some fresh air. In reality, she had likely walked there and pretended to live there. Oscar found himself in a dire situation. In the episode's conclusion, we witnessed the extent of Oscar's turmoil and the profound impact it would have on both him and the entire family. Upon returning home, he confessed to Agnes that he had not only invested his own money, but also the majority of the Van Rin's funds, leaving them on the brink of financial ruin. This added strain comes on top of the Reverend Fort's recent demise, intensifying the weight of their circumstances. Furthermore, with Mr. Cow and Miss Beaton disappearing without a trace, it will prove immensely challenging to recover what was stolen. The consequences of these events could be far-reaching and lasting, forever altering the family's lives. Observing their journey in this new and uncertain territory promises to be undeniably captivating. Marian finds herself in a complex situation. It's evident that she's not enthusiastic about her impending marriage to Dashiell. During the luncheon at the start of the episode, she made it clear that she didn't want to rush into wedding plans, despite the desires of Agnes and everyone else. Additionally, we witnessed Marian seeking reassurance from Peggy about her decision to accept Dash's proposal. In response, Peggy astutely asked if Marian was trying to convince herself. Poor Marian, caught in a web of uncertainty and doubt. In this episode, Agnes had moments where she instructed Marian to make tea for Dashiell upon his arrival. Marian, however, didn't truly want to do it, nor would she if she weren't going to marry him. Interestingly, when he left the premises, it seemed as if a weight was lifted off her shoulders. It was a moment for her to just be, to breathe freely. Marian is an independent and progressive woman, and being married to Dashiell appears to be something that might restrict her life and personal growth. This is why it seems like she is hesitant about getting married to him. Nevertheless, she's afraid to say no because she doesn't want to disappoint the rest of the family. In this episode, a captivating moment unfolded when Dashiell departed, and to our surprise, Mr. Larry Russell appeared across the street. His presence brought comfort and joy to Marian, a rare sight in this particular episode. Notably, he offered solace after she expressed her distress over the Reverend Fort's passing, an incident seemingly unrelated but symbolically significant. Moreover, Larry Russell displayed a commendable act of support for Mrs. Roebling, allowing her to receive the recognition she deserved for her instrumental role in leading the construction of the celebrated Brooklyn Bridge. This progressive gesture illuminated the stark contrast between Larry and Dashiell's personalities, highlighting Marian's affinity towards Larry. Upon viewing the finale's trailer, it appears that Marian's interest in Larry will intensify, potentially leading to the long-awaited romance we've all anticipated. While the wedding may not be called off just yet, we may witness a tender moment. Perhaps even a kiss. In the ongoing battle between Bertha and the Academy, Mrs. Winterton has surprisingly taken a back seat in recent episodes. However, I'm really hoping that she makes a grand appearance in the finale, bringing along a whirlwind of drama. Speaking of drama, let's delve into the latest episode where Bertha finds herself in a tough predicament. We witness Mrs. A.A. extending an enticing offer to Bertha, a coveted spot at the Academy, something she had always longed for. Interestingly, Bertha had initially embarked on her journey with the Metropolitan, driven by the belief that if she couldn't join the Academy, she would forge her own path. This internal conflict weighed heavily on her mind as she teetered on the brink of acceptance. However, it was George who came to her rescue, dissuading her from accepting the offer. He pointed out that at the Met, she would have the autonomy to make it even more remarkable than the Academy, all while escaping the shadow of Mrs. Astor. These two prospects resonated deeply with Bertha, so much so that she declined Mrs. Astor's offer in front of a room filled with esteemed colleagues. Mrs. Astor's embarrassment led her to execute Phase 2 of her plan, snatching the Duke away from Bertha, an incident that unfolded during the celebrations of the Brooklyn Bridge inauguration. This event is a significant development in the ongoing war of the opera houses, and it appears that the Academy may secure the Duke, potentially tarnishing the Met's reputation on its opening night. Bertha must devise a plan to regain control by enticing him back into her grasp. Perhaps she will once again present her daughter, as she did during dinner, in a bid to entice the Duke's attendance. Only time will tell if this scheme comes to fruition. Peggy and Mr. Fortune, they make quite the pair. Their bond is strong, and it seems like the feeling is mutual. However, Dorothy has caught on and voiced her disagreement. One thing that piques my curiosity is the whereabouts of Mr. Fortune's wife. She hasn't made an appearance this season, and considering his obvious interest in Peggy, I can't help but wonder what their situation is like. Are they okay? Is she no longer with us? I'm just curious. On another note, Peggy and the black community in the city are fighting a case against the Education Board's attempt to close down the school for black students. They've taken steps forward in their fight. They managed to gain the support of Marian, a white individual who holds influence with the Educational Board. Additionally, they've recruited Mr. Patrick Ryan, a white Irishman, as a teacher. He mentioned that he could bring in more white Irish teachers to join the school. These actions demonstrate their efforts to integrate the schools, as they believe it's the only way to maintain the schools and keep black teachers employed. It will be fascinating to see how this story unfolds in the season finale and whether their endeavors will prove successful. In this episode, we witnessed an intriguing encounter between Flora McNeil and Mr. Watson. As anticipated, Flora confronted her father about the secret deal he had made with Mr. McNeil, involving their relocation to the West Coast. It became clear that Flora was unaware of this arrangement and strongly opposed it. During their heartfelt conversation, Flora proposed an alternative solution, offering her father an apartment in the city. Under this plan, he could live under his true identity as a retired banker and enjoy a more privileged lifestyle, while also being able to spend time with his beloved grandchildren. It was evident throughout their negotiations in previous episodes that Mr. Watson genuinely cared for Flora. However, I can't help but wonder if Mr. McNeil will create any complications in this new agreement. George Russell, despite showing a favorable side in the previous episode by calling off the attack on the strikers, seems to have a broader scheme at play. He struck a deal with the tradesmen, granting them a wage increase on a 6-month contract, along with improved working conditions and a community park. However, his plan, which excludes the laborers, aims to divide the workers' union. George also mentioned a past strike where the strikers were fired upon, creating public sympathy and support. He aimed to avoid a similar situation. Despite his calculated moves, George never acknowledged the union, resulting in a loss of support from fellow businessmen and leaving him isolated, which could potentially weaken his position. Mr. Henderson, the leader of the previous strike, was aware of George's plan. He accepted the offer because George prevented the firing, even though he could have allowed it. This shows that despite George potentially having ulterior motives, there is a glimmer of goodness within him. We witnessed this during his visit to Mr. Henderson's home and the community. It seems that George may be undergoing a transformation. Overall review: I found this episode of the show to be quite enjoyable. It served as a smooth transition into the season finale, setting the stage perfectly. While I initially planned to delve into Mr. Fort's death, there isn't much that requires explanation. My only qualm is that everything seemed to unfold rather swiftly. Within a matter of days, he was gone. But I suppose that's the nature of television. What I appreciate is the heightened tension across all storylines. The opera war involving Bertha, Marian's marriage to Dashiell, the Van Ryn family's lost fortune, and Peggy's connection with Mr. Fortune, all of them teetering on the edge. It's a thrilling position to be in right before a season finale. This second season has been quite satisfying, and it's bittersweet knowing it's coming to an end. Hopefully, we'll receive news of a Season 3 before Season 2 concludes, offering us something to eagerly anticipate. Oh, I almost forgot to mention Jack's story. His acceptance into the Watchmaking Society, thanks to Mr. Schubert, could potentially lead to his patent being considered. It feels like Jack is on the brink of bigger and better things, which is well-deserved for his character. On a side note, is anyone else growing tired of Mrs. Armstrong's constant negativity? She seems incapable of finding happiness for anyone. But I digress. Let's welcome the final episode with open arms. So there you have it, The Gilded Age Season 2, Episode 7, ending explained. But what are your thoughts on this episode? Do you think Jack is really going to be able to get his patent accepted? Are you excited for the potential of Season 3, or do you think it's too early to tell? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you.